Today we picked up the Aquafly's tube fly kit. We're going to go over kind of some of the stuff that's in there, and we're going to tie a fly. So first and foremost, you got your tubing, a bunch of different styles, sizes of tubing. Well, I should say two different styles and two different sizes. You have two options, or three options basically, of rigging these. So you've got traditional junction tubing in the package, where you've got, you know, your bigger tubing for your bigger tube and your smaller tubing for your smaller tube. So that's one way. You can just tie your fly on the main tube, pop a junction, the silicone junction tubing on there, rig a hook, and you're off to the races. Or you can do like the classic style where you marry the small into the large, and that's typically what I like to do, only because you get a lot of different options in the junction tubing itself with the sparkle tubes and all that kind of stuff. And you've seen me do this on the pro stuff a bunch of times. So that's kind of no difference, and so that's how I'm going to do this. You also get a variety of eyes. You get cones, you'll get some hooks, and then you'll also get the needle. All that's in the kit. So you can kind of just buy the kit and kind of play around, go mad scientist if you will, and have some fun. So today I'm going to cut a piece of this bigger tubing, and I'm going to slide on the smaller tubing, and I'm going to cut it just past the needle. I don't want to make sure you clip it, not what am I trying to say here? Don't hit this with your scissors. That's a bad day for your scissors. So the larger of the junction, I'm going to cut at a 45-degree angle. I'm going to put a little, just a tiny little bump on here. You can see I've made a little well. Slide the large tubing on. You see there's nothing for it to stick to, but there will be in a sec when I slide on the small. I'm going to slide this up till it stops, put the large over the top, and it's already tight. You can still get the you can still get the tubing on and off, but this will ensure that I can marry these two with my tying thread, and I'm going to tie this on as tight as I can before I break the thread. And you can start to see it squish together. Alright, there we go. And so this fly I'm going to tie, you can still get it on and off easily, see that? So we're good to go there. We've created our base, and you know, there's really no difference in tying a tube versus a shank. We get asked all the time, like, why we need materials for a tube fly. The materials are the same. So the base of what you tie in is the only thing that changes, and your rigging will change. But as far as tying the fly itself, anything that can be tied on a shank can be tied on a tube, and vice versa. So your platform is different, but the fly itself doesn't change. You can tie leeches, intruders, all the different stuff. But I guess the only exception would be like the dirty hose and stuff like that, where the hook's incorporated into the entire fly itself. But for most, like 99.9% of everything, you can run a tube. I suppose you could tie a dirty hoe fly and then just run your hook back on a loop knot or something like that. That's fine, but it's not the true fly that Jerry designed. But you could still run that same style of like that leech style real easily. So that's that. Tubes are the same, or materials are the same. No difference there. This fly we're gonna tie. I've used it in the past, and you know, some of you may need a shower or, you know, something after you see this. Some of you won't be super stoked, some of you will be. So we're gonna tie a Babine special type intruder. So easy, pretty easy fly, really damn effective. I mean, it's been proven for a long time that steelhead like to eat little round pink things. So got our tube rigged. I'm gonna tie in a piece of chenille. This is like the egg, like the coral fluorescent egg type chenille. I'm just going to make a ball, just like a traditional Babine special. I'm going to make an egg out of the chenille. Believe it or not, the second fish I ever caught was on a Babine special. Okay, tie that in. And we're going to go a little accentuated on our eggs here. You can make them a, any size you want, but the main event here and what we're getting the focus on is the egg. And so I tend to make them a little bit more pronounced. I'm going to throw in a little bit of Arctic Fox here as my bump, which we kind of made a big bump, but I like the, what happens is if you can just tie ostrich right on here, that's fine. This will act as a bump, actually, it's big enough, but your ostrich, it's so aggressively out that your ostrich will just go 90 degrees to it, which will be fine swung in a current. It won't affect it one bit, actually. It'd be fine swung in a current, but it looks a lot better and flowier if I throw some Arctic Fox in to kind of taper this out and get the ostrich to lay back. And, again, I said it a million times before, most all of your steelhead flies are going to be aesthetically based. They're not going to be productively based. And that's just the facts. I mean, that if a fly doesn't look good to you, it will never make it out of the box and have an opportunity to hook the fish. So you got to make them, got to make the appeal where it matters, and the appeal where it matters for the most part is when you open that box, which fly you picking. So I've got a little bit of fox here. I'm just going to comb it out like that, real fast. Throw it in our loop. Now for length, I'm probably going to, I mean, you can go. Again, eye of the beholder, but the proportions I tend to like, the very, very tips are going to be like just inside of this junction tube here. And I'm going to spread it out because I want to make sure I get full coverage. So we're not particularly too heavy on this fox. It probably looks on camera heavier than it is, but I need new scissors really bad. See if these ones work. The scissors, not really. Alright, let's see if these ones work. I am horrible at throwing away scissors for whatever reason. I just can't bring myself to do it, and so I'm the asshole who puts the pen that's dead back in the pen drawer instead of just throwing the pen away. And so you always grab the dead pen because for whatever reason, that's me. When it comes to scissors, and everybody knows that person that just, the pen doesn't write, pen's dead, but they throw it back in the pen drawer. Spin her up. And I have good news to tell everybody. We're working with Aqua. These should be coming back under the Aqua brand. I've been working with the owner of Aqua Flies. We've sent it off to get measured and all that stuff, and the Portland Fly Shop dubbing spinner, it looks like we're going to be back in biz. It's coming back out. As you guys know, my cost on these went up significantly. 74 bucks was my cost on these after the post-COVID craziness, and so I just, obviously we never made money on these anyway. Our cost was always high. And we basically sold them for, we literally sold them for $5 over cost. And that wasn't including my labor to bend all the wire and stuff. So I think they should be getting a little better too as far as price goes. So wrap your fox. Anyway, that was a diversion. Tie it off. And we're going to see how this goes. I'm not doing a big loop with a ton of different materials, so I went back to good old-fashioned 6/0. I'm not doing 140 today, so if I break thread, then I just break thread, I guess. We'll see, but it is kind of weird tying all winter with 140, now going back to 6/0 and having to be a little careful. So white ostrich, we'll probably do, I don't know, 5. Oh, little trick. So if you've got this all cut off and you want to see what you've got, you can just grab what's already been cut and just pull it away. And now you can see it's real clean. So we can kind of count our plumes. It doesn't, I'll do 6 per side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I like to keep it uniform. You can just grab a little handful and eyeball it and call it good, but I mean, I should say you can, I just can't. Alright. So length here. This particular plume doesn't have these all, so we're a little off. This particular plume, the ostrich is really good on it, but it's not, when you cut it, it's not all nice and neat and lined up for you. I would say from the factory, but I mean from the bird. So sometimes we'll get these ones that are just not curved right, so I'll tie those in a second. So I'm going to go to like the end of the tube mandrel here on this first one. So I'm going to tie in well, try this again here. How are we going to go? Alright, we're going to be friends. Alright, so I'm going to go with these 3 now. Okay. Bam. There's my 6. This thing is going to fight me, I can tell already. I'm all jittery today. I'm on substantial amounts of coffee without substantial amounts of food to soak it up. So we'll get through it together. So 6 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bam. And we're going to call this 4 because 2 of them were little shorties. Match them up. I need 2 more. Okay, we're going to tie them in here. And then I'm just going to add a couple pieces of Mirage per side. So I've got like four strands. Gosh dang it. Now 3. Now 4. Tie it in one side. Just a couple wraps. Flip it over. Tie it in the other side. Bring it all back. Make sure we're lined up here. And tie it all in together. And then I'm going to take my ostrich and just clip this about to the end. Just being careful not to clip any of the ostrich itself. And did I get it all? I think I missed one. Yeah, I missed one. Okay. Booyah. We need a body. So I'm just going to use flat braid. You can use tinsel if you want. Tinsel's fine. Tinsel will give you a little bit lower profile. Flat braid is just so easy. It's just so easy. So that's why I use it. We're probably good there. I've thought about rolling body hackle on this before. You can, so the actual Babine special would have like a red hackle in the middle. So white tail, red hackle, and then so white tail, egg ball, red hackle, egg ball, white collar. But I'm not going to do the red hackle just because on this in the middle, just because on this fly actually I think it looks better without. So alright, so next bump, where's my chenille? Right here. So I'm going to tie in the chenille. Now I'm going to slide on a cone, and I'm going to hide this cone. So I don't want it all the way back. Get out of my way, please. So I don't want it all the way back. I want enough here to be able to like basically make a couple turns of chenille, and then I'm gonna hide it, right? We're gonna go over it like that. And so the easiest way to get our proportions here is I'm gonna actually make a couple wraps, bring this back, and then move my thread up, right, and tie it in just like that. So that will ensure that this gap right here that I just made stays. I hope that makes sense. Now, this is really, really slippery, so I'm going to add a little glue to make sure that after 2 casts this whole thing doesn't slide off. So I'm going to build up my chenille here. We're going to take it and tie it in, run it back, tie it off. So essentially what we've done, we've created our big ass egg here, but we've hit a weight inside of it. So there you go. And then with the glue, this thing will stay put on that cone. I could have glued the cone. I haven't. I don't know. Once it's in, it's been okay. Once this glue sets and actually dries up, it's been fine. Second round. Arctic Fox. So to keep my loop open, I don't know if you've seen, but to keep the loop open, I have been using that vice pawn from Loon. Not only does it do its job as far as getting the hook out of my fingers, keeping the hook out of my fingers, I should say, when I'm fiddle farting with the fly and doing all the strokes and all that stuff that we do. But I put it on the side of the vise here, and that's what I use to just put my dubbing loop on, so it keeps it open. I like to do my dubbing loop first. That way I'm not having to, once I get my material set, especially like a composite loop, once I get it set, I'm not moving, trying to create a dubbing loop with this in my hand. I just think it's a lot easier to make my loop and then roll. So for length on this, I'm just going to basically touch the first part of this ostrich here. We're going to spread it out. When you spin it, it always gets a little shorter. So after I clip this, touching here, after I spin it, it'll actually come in just a little bit. So I always measure a tiny bit long, and then it ends up being what I want. So spin her up. If you get these fibers trapped in there, you can run this EP finger brush. You got to be real careful on your 6/0. 140 can take a lot of abuse, but this 6/0 cannot. So if you're using that EP brush, that EP finger brush, just go really gentle. Take your time. If you're running thinner threads, it's not going to be, you won't be able to go as aggressive as you can with a 140. 280, I know people use 280. I just can't get small heads on 280. I just can't do it. I make too many wraps, I guess, and that's that. So, okay, bam. We got our second little bump. We're starting to look dirty. Starting to look filthy. But look, man, everybody has needs, right? And sometimes you just need to catch a fish. And I'm not judging anybody for it. Sometimes you just gotta scratch that itch and fish an egg pattern, you know? Even if it's on the swing, I understand it's still an egg. But, you know, everybody has needs. Ostrich. So first, dubbing loop. Bam. Ostrich. I've said it before. When you're throwing ostrich in a dubbing loop, give yourself a little bit more than what you think. It tends to just, dubbing loops tend to take more material to give you the look you're after than throwing it in like a 1x1, because you can place it exactly where you want. But I love the ease of a dubbing loop, and I love the small head of a dubbing loop, because when we tie it off, we're just tying off tying thread. So you can tie these in 1x1. You're going to wind up with a ton of thread buildup. If you're using like a Semperfly or, you know, nano silk type thing, it's not going to be nearly as bad. But I don't like using Semperfly or gel spun really of any kind on these big flies, because you don't get a ton per spool and it's not cheap. And so, you know, Semperflies, the nano silks are awesome for tiny trout flies and stuff, but when we're talking big steelhead flies, you tie 5 flies and the spool's gone. So and it doesn't like dubbing loops. It's really slippery, so you make a dubbing loop and everything slides up the thread. Alright, so our length, about half of this ostrich, we're probably pretty good there. So I'm going to pinch it where I want, pop it in the dubbing loop, and now I can start spreading out. The main thing here is evenness. We just want to make sure we're not too heavy in one area, because that heaviness will absolutely carry over to your fly. And you're going to get a spot with a ton of fibers, and then you're going to get a spot with like no fibers. So evenness is key here. I think that's looking pretty good. I'm going to trim it. And this is where you want good sharp scissors. So don't be like me and don't put the dead scissors back on the table. Just throw them away. Get new ones. Okay. Oh, we found a straggler. Sorry, I'm all shaky, man. Too much coffee, not enough to soak it up yet. Alright, so I'm going to start spinning slowly. Once we get some tension on these fibers, then we can let her have it. This fox is going to want to get caught in there. So you can take a bodkin, I don't know where mine's at. Oh, it's right here. And then just pull that fox out of your thread. I'm going to spin this until I'm basically at like max tension before this thread breaks. And I think I'm getting pretty darn close. Maybe we'll just tempt fate here, go a little bit more. I know I'm going to probably regret it if I go any further than this. Alright. Find a neutral spot here where it stops spinning. Push everything back. Water helps. I don't have water with me and I don't feel like getting up to get it, so we're just going to deal with it. Start spinning. And we're we're placing one wrap just right on top of the, not literally on top, but right next to the other one. We want this packed in. Okay, I'm going to pull down, tighten. Do like 4 wraps, bring it back, lock it in. So that's what I mean about thread buildup, is like we literally have none. You see? My gosh. I don't care who you are, man. That's a cool fly. Alright. Some flash. You absolutely can mix your flash in with your ostrich and spin it around. It's a really cool effect. If I would have thought about it, I would have done it, but here we are. So I'm just going to add it to either side. In videos previous, we've spun flash and dubbing loops. This Flashabou spins really good in dubbing loops, whether it's the Mirage or just regular Flashabou. I tied it in just like the backside. Tied on one end, flip it over, do the other. But Flashabou is so easy to spin. And it really makes an awesome effect, you know, spun. Alright. You are pretty. Alright, so we're going to roll some marabou. We're not going to add a ton of marabou. I've got this, like, crappy woolly bugger marabou that I'm going to use because I cannot find my nice space stuff. We just got a bunch of new marabou in from Foaling Mill that is really good stuff. I just haven't. Spay marabou's been so hard to get that I just don't want to pull it off the shelf and use it on a video when a lot of you have been waiting for it. So I'm gonna use this old stuff, and it's good. You know, it's good to use all your materials. You know. Ooh, I think. Did you see that? I went to go clip a little thing and little stem, and I might have nicked my thread. Alright, real quick. I don't have a material clip handy. This ostrich is getting in my way and it's going to be annoying, and I've shown this before, but I'm just going to get some wire. Bring all of this back. I'm just going to wire it down just to not bother me. Alright, I'm going to tie this in tip first. What makes this crappy marabou actually isn't the length of the fiber and the straightness of the fiber. It's really perfect, actually. It's just short, and so gosh dang it. I just dropped my hackle pliers, and I'm gonna need them. Okay, got them, because my fat old fingers won't be able to grab this stem. Tight end tip first. Alright, run down with the scissors, and we get a lot of questions on this. What does this do? Why do I always do this? If you see, instead of having this full feather, this kinks the fiber, and now they're all going one direction, and so I can wrap it like a hackle, and it doesn't get all kerjumbled and tied up in itself as I wrap it. So that's why I do that. And so I'm going to make one turn, switch hands, pull everything back, one turn, don't do that to me. So you know when you're good. And jury's out on me, but you know when you're good when you have a white feather with like a hot color underneath. You get to see all your mistakes when you're wrapping because it shows through. So a lot of times when you think you're wrapping it like literally next to the next wrap you've got gaps, and boy can you ever see it when you do this. Alright, I take a little bit of, this is fin, you can use Arctic Fox. And I'm going to make us a wing, Sputnik style. So something like that right there. Alright, give myself 4 wraps. Cut the butts. I'm going to put glue on my thread. I do not want it on the actual head because it will creep into the marabou. These super glues have a way of just creeping into your materials. So this way I've absolutely secured that fin raccoon. With 6/0, you know, you got to just take a little bit more precaution with 6/0 because you can't get the same amount of tension as you can with the 140. You can see our head here is just super nice, tight, really good little head on there. And that comes with using smaller threads, but since I can't give it the torque that I normally would on 140, I'm just using some glue to make sure. So at this point we can pull out our wire. You can see what this baby's going to look like a bona fide fly. Shouldn't upset too many people now all of a sudden. And so I'm going to, so ideally I would leave some of these little marabou-ish fibers on the bottom of this this hackle, and I might, but the stem is really thick. I don't think I can on this one. So if I had a really thin stem, I would definitely leave some of these fuzzies on there. I just don't on this one. And so I'm just going to roll the standard collar hackle. And then the stem is a little thick, so I'm just going to take my thumb and forefinger and just kind of smash it a little bit. And this will keep it from breaking, potentially breaking, as I wrap it around. I'm going to flip it around. I'm going to want probably 3 wraps. That's probably only 2, but now we're getting into some stiffer fibers, and I want the soft stuff. I don't have white schlappen, so I dug through a pack of saddle. Every pack of saddle will have a little type of schlappen in it. Every type of schlappen will have a package, will have a little bit of saddle in there, so that's all I did. I just didn't know I was out and went to go tie this again. I've been tying a lot of these for, you know, fishing this year. They do work freaking good, and so I just used them all. So now there's always another way, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can always make something work. And so if you don't have exactly what you want, dig through your stuff, and I'm sure you'll be able to find something. But this one may not work. We'll see. These thick stems just kick your ass, man, I'm telling you. I don't like thick stems. I think we're gonna make it work here. Alright, we made it work. Barely. Ideally, I would like to have a longer schlappen feather on here. I would like, honestly, I'd like it twice this length, but that's what I got, so, and I promise you the fish won't care one bit. So whip finishing, I tend to use whip finishers when I want accuracy. So the hand whip finish works fine. When you use an actual whip finisher, you have a lot more accuracy where you put those thread wraps. And so to keep this head small, if I use a hand whip finisher, there's no way that I can get those loops on the head. Those loops, when I put them all together, they're going to end up in this tube and they're going to extend the length of that head. We've worked really hard, right, and made very conscious wrappings in your fly to get a small head, and so you don't want to trash it and ruin it by doing a hand whip finish real quick and having that creep out. You've kind of defeated your whole work, you know, that you've done. If your head is at a sharp angle and the threads keep falling off the top or falling off the front, which can happen, just run a little super glue on your thread, make a couple wraps, wait 10 seconds and cut it. That's another way to just get a permanent tie off. Alright, I'm going to pop the tube off. I'm going to cut it real close. And bring it all back. Light her up. Alright, and now, so this stuff we're bringing in, we don't have it quite yet. We should have it next week. I just got a sample. I gotta tell you, this stuff's badass. This Raid Zap, it's a UV. It's incredibly flexible. It doesn't break. It's really good stuff. I would put it up there with the Pro as far as durability. I haven't done like sculpin fins or anything like that with it yet. Like the Pro Sport Fisher UV is like you can just mold stuff with it, and it just never freaking breaks, never wears out. This stuff so far has been phenomenal. What am I trying to say? It dries tack free. It's really flexible. You tie. I mean, if you ran a bead of it, you could tie it in a knot and it wouldn't break. So I think it's pretty awesome stuff. We're bringing it in. I've been really impressed with it. Like I say, the Pro. I know how tough the Pro Sport Fisher stuff is, and so we won't ever quit carrying that. But as an alternative, I always like to have two brands in the shop, and so as an alternative, I think I'm going to bring in this Raid Zap. This stuff's pretty badass. Alright, cured up and done. We've got our fly. She's a wiggler. She's totally cheating. But, how do you argue the double eggs? There you go. Babine special, Intruder style. You could actually, now that you have all, this egg seemed really big, when we're tying it in. Now that we've got our full fly down here, I could probably go a little bigger, honestly, but it's a good size. This fly freaking kicks ass. It does its job. So anyway, so yeah, that's the first fly out of the Aqua Flies pack. Easy peasy, cool stuff, flexible. It's not going to break on you. And yeah, give it a try if you are in the market. Talk to you.